All right, everybody, welcome back to the Dylan Gemelli podcast. So my guest today had to make a nice little trip down here from Canada and went from minus 40 to 70.
Yeah.
So drastic change, but it's great to see you. I'm thankful that you came down here to see me. And we're going to get into some things that I haven't discussed a ton on the show, which I really want to do. I love to dig into different concepts, and I know we're going to be able to go a lot of places maybe you don't normally go.
Okay.
And we're going to have some fun. And I like to let people see more of my guests. I want to show the versatility. I want to show that you're multifaceted in your knowledge base. And so that's what we're going to do today. We're going to showcase what you got. So my guest today is a family reconnection and emotional healing expert. She works with parents navigating estrangement from their adult children. And she has gone through a little bit of transformation here, but I think that what she's doing now ties into more of who she is, and we're going to really spotlight and showcase everything that she does. We're going to talk about emotional strength, resilience, all kinds of everything. So my friends, Tania Khazaal.
Thank you for that. I'm super excited to be here as well.
Well, thank you again, because I know those trips are long and they're not easy, and I am always appreciative of people taking the time to come and talk to me. It makes me feel special.
The weather change is nice too.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. We were talking off camera about how I despise the snow and the cold, so it'll be a nice change for you to enjoy yourself.
100%.
What is your primary focus and your main concern, or things that you really work on the most?
The number one thing is really helping parents navigate estrangement, like understanding the child's perspective, learning how to communicate, how to better approach it. But I also speak to the child as well, where it's like, I understand the pain that you went through in order to cut off your parent, and you know that you were misunderstood. You didn't have your emotional needs met and everything, and what led you to cutting them off in the name of protecting your peace. So I really try to challenge that by saying, is that really protecting your peace, or is that more protecting your pain? So I do a little bit of a polarized topic in a sense of, I'm helping the parents understand and speak the child's language, but also not to victimize yourself. Not the child should not be in the victim, and the parent should not be in the victim mode, and then kind of reconnecting them that way.
We're looking at children, but what do you find to be the most common age of this happening? Because children, I mean, we're children forever, right? We're somebody's child forever. So what kind of age brackets do you work with the most, and what's most common that you see as?
That's a good question. So what's interesting is right now, the adult children that are cutting off the most, where the parents that I'm working with are millennials. So like, yes, of course, it's going into the younger and younger generations, but it primarily started with the millennials. And obviously I have many reasons why I think that is the case, but it's my generation, which is why I also did the exact same thing and cut off my mom in the name of healing. And it's because we're learning all of this language of Zen and consciousness and emotional language that we were never taught before.
Just for people, if they don't know these terms, what age bracket is millennial?
I don't know exactly. I'm 37. So I would typically say anywhere between like 35, 45, 50, really.
Right. Okay. And you're thinking that a lot of that reasoning is because of the different types of behaviors that we're learning, verbiages that we're learning, or methods of coping? Because I feel like, and you correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like a lot of people in my mom's age bracket are in that 60, 70, 80. Obviously, when you get older, you're kind of set on your ways. I mean, that's, right. I think we know that. But I always get this sense of more negativity, this more negative outlook on things. And
I think it's more survival outlook. And that's the thing that I've noticed is my parents are the exact same way. My mom is peak. She's 60 years old. She's very, what people would call toxic and narcissistic and all of these things, is because they are more negative, but it's because they're so used to survival that they almost don't see how wonderful the world can be. And that's the lens that they grew up with. And that's the lens that they got used to. So for us to come in, and I feel like we're kind of more the positivity, we're trying to change, break the cycles, that kind of stuff. And so we now, because we learned this emotional language, to us, it seems so basic that we expect our parents to also be on that same learning curve as us, which is unrealistic. So now we're putting these expectations on the people who raised us because they don't think the same way, because they're negative, because they're triggering me. So I have to distance myself in order to not have it affect my positivity, when in reality, if you truly do the emotional healing work, someone else's negative behavior doesn't actually affects you.
That's one of the things that I can't stand is when people get triggered and bothered so easily. And it's like, I'm thankful for many things that I wasn't appreciative before with my parents, the way that they raised me, because I have discipline, I have accountability, I have toughness.
Yes.
And yeah, some of the stuff sucked at the time, but had I not had that, I wouldn't have a lot of the different characteristics that I have that I appreciate now. Now, could it have been conveyed differently? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe you don't get tough that way. I don't know. But do you feel like society-wise, it's caused everybody to be more like
fragile?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
with
100%.
everything.
And I typically say, like, Dylan, I can go back and say, like, I think between the new therapy language, trauma, triggers, boundaries, all of that is feeding into it. And what regular childhood hardships have now turned into everything is trauma.
Yeah.
It's like, no, it's regular childhood hardships. Your parents did not have the language, the capacity, everything that we have at our fingertips now. And that's the problem. Everything is trauma now. You go into a therapy room and they're uncovering all of your traumas, and they've got so many different, they've got PTSD, they got this, they like trauma comes in like, I don't even know, 57 different terms, if not more at this point. So what happens when you do that is now you're labeling your hardships.
Yeah.
And when you label your hardships, you're victimizing yourself. And not only victimizing yourself, you're saying, who is the villain in my story that caused this to me? So then you're stuck there. You're literally stuck in that place. And that's where I think therapy is great at uncovering those childhood wounds, terrible at getting you out of it once they've uncovered it.
And that's just it. I have this just terrible, I don't want to use the word hatred, but I have a disdain for a lack of accountability. And I feel like that everybody's looking to put it on something else or blame it on something else. I'm not saying to blame yourself for everything, because that's going too far. And that's what people do. They go to extremes. But most people don't just sit and look in the mirror and ask themselves.
Yes.
Because when you have to look directly in the mirror at yourself, can you really, if you're that good of a liar, you can lie to yourself, then I don't know really what to do with you.
Yeah, you're right. Because there's a difference between personal accountability. And I typically say, like, if you look in the mirror, it's going to be one of two people. One, you love who you see in the mirror. And if that's the case, cool. Thank everybody in your life who got you here, including the parents that weren't so great.
Right.
Two, if you don't love the person in front of you, cool. That's for you to change, nobody else.
Right.
And a lot of people, I think the reason why they're scared of personal accountability is because they start to think, could I be a bad person? Like, am I a bad person? Like, but just because you have areas of opportunity to grow in doesn't make you a bad person. It just means that there's some things that you're not great at, and it's okay to improve. And people need to be able to have that conversation. How am I contributing to the situation, and what do I need to do different? So instead of saying, why did they do this to me, which is very victim mentality, it's like, no, what do I have control over? And that's, I think, why we have such a fragile society, because people are playing the blame game instead of looking at themselves and saying, pardon my French, shit, I got to do something different because this is, I'm contributing to this.
Everybody just wants to blame something else. Oh, it's because of my race, or oh, it's because the cards I was dealt, or oh, my parents didn't have money, or oh, this, or oh, that. Dude, I mean, when does it end and when does it stop? And otherwise, what you do is you wake up and you're 60 years old and you realize that you didn't do shit.
It becomes excuses to your own failures.
Yes.
The things that you failed to show up on it, you have to excuse it by blaming somebody else, because it's a hard pill to swallow to say, I didn't make very good choices and this is really shitty and it's my fault.
I became really good at looking in the mirror and saying, dude, you better do something right now. It took me going to prison. That's what it took for me.
Right.
And then I was able to be accountable for everything that I did. I don't recommend doing that to anybody.
Dylan, I have my fair share of stories too, so I get it.
But,
like, I grew up in community housing.
So then you understand.
Yeah.
When you get good at that, you get better at life. You don't get perfect. I suck at so many things. I can admit it. I have no problem admitting it, but it makes me work at it the next day.
Right.
It forces me to.
Right.
And I think the people, they either set ridiculous standards for themselves that they can't have, or they become fragile, like you said.
Right.
Do you feel like that fragility is one of the things that causes so many separations of parent to child?
In all relationships, even divorce and everything, right? I want to go back to your story on the prison because it's really interesting. I don't often talk about this, but I was at the wrong place at the wrong time and was charged with something that was technically not my fault. And it literally was not my fault. I was at the wrong place at the wrong time. But it's a perfect example of, in those moments, you really do realize that the blame game is going to get me nowhere. I have to do something. Like, I've got so much, I have to do something for myself. What am I going to do? Because they don't give a crap who I blame. I'm here. This is the scenario. So like sometimes you're thrown into these hard situations that you should never be in, but you have a choice at that point. And it's like, I find that when that kind of perspective change happens, you're like, I'm never going to put my fate in anybody else's hands.
No.
Ever. And so when you talk about the fragility, 100%, that's, I think what's happening is people don't know how to, first, the parents over coddle, over give, don't say no to their kids, do all of that. And there's no blame on the parent because they thought they're trying to save them from the hardships that they went through. But then that creates a child who doesn't know that real world is freaking hard.
Yeah.
It's not easy. You're going to go through stuff. You have to learn how to communicate better. You're going to have things that are going to trigger you every single day. If you want to protect your peace, get so solid in who you are so that things no longer trigger you. That's as simple as that because, full peace doesn't exist. Let's be honest. It's who you are on the inside. And so being so grounded. So people don't have that capacity. People haven't gone through hardships to build the capacity to say, oh my God, I was in the valley of despair and that darkness for so long and I came out on top and I'm so strong and nothing's going to pull me down and no one's going to pull me down. People are afraid of that valley of despair.
I know.
So they run out of it and then they go back to their little shiny object and relationships and everything. And I think that is why relationships are falling apart. Parent to child, marriages, everything is because people don't want to do the work and they're blaming. I'm blaming my husband for his behavior. I'm blaming my wife for their behavior. I'm blaming my child. I'm blaming my parents. Because they don't want to recognize that maybe you can approach the situation differently, change your perspective, learn a different kind of way of communication, which is a big thing that I talk about. That all has a direct correlation with the health of your relationships.
See, and that's therein, one of the words you just said was communication, and therein lies the problem.
Yeah.
Nobody knows how to communicate anymore.
None.
Everybody wants to either text or talk shit behind a keyboard or anything else under the sun.
You're right.
You can buy a house through text message.
Yeah.
Literally.
Right.
I refuse to operate that way. I make everybody get on the phone with me. I make everybody talk to me. At the minimum, voice note me. You're going to talk.
Yeah.
You're absolutely going to talk. That's why, I feel like that's one of the many contributing factors to lower testosterone levels, lower self-esteem in men, because they don't even know how to talk to girls.
You're right, because you've got social media, you've got the internet that's taking over, and everything's happening at a fast pace. But the lack of communication is 100% the issue. People are afraid of confrontation.
Yeah,
they're afraid of healthy debate. It's now turned into, if there's a heated conversation, it's not healthy. I need to leave. But it's like, no, this is where you learn the skill set and the resilience to be able to go through that. If you were to talk to any married couple, let's just say of 45 years, they're going to say communication was the thing that got us through. And learning and learning how to bite my tongue, learning how to listen. Communication is also listening. There's none of that happens because in a fast-paced world that's all online, people now turn into these keyboard warriors.
Oh, yeah.
And they lack that basic communication, which is so important for even for yourself, right? Because you talk about health and wellness. Think about the suppression of expression. The inability to express yourself, which is a form of communication, is the leading cause of autoimmune in women, in sickness. So it's all proof that you need to be able to express yourself, learn how to better express yourself, learn how to better communicate in order to have healthier relationships, healthier body, healthier mind, everything.
You asked my wife this question. Every single business call I've ever been on, every single thing that requires me to give my set of standards to somebody, I list two things at the very beginning. And number one, every rip is communication. And number two is trust.
Right.
Every single thing in my life, if I can't have both of those things, I can't be involved in it.
And I believe it because the first time we chatted, you're like, we have to get on a call together. Let's communicate.
Yeah.
Right.
Anything you do without communication lacks preparation, it lacks care, and it lacks your ability to actually give your all into what you're doing.
And connection.
Exactly.
It lacks connection if there's no real communication.
If you walk in here and we never talked before, I don't know you from anything other than what I saw online, I can have a total misconception of you and vice versa,
Right.
and I don't know shit about you.
Right.
Only what I read and saw.
Which is interesting because, 97% of communication is nonverbal?
Yeah. I know.
So if you're lacking that human connection, and even on video, it works fine, but it's the tone. You could say the same thing in different tones, in different ways, and it's interpreted and meant in very different, ways. So when I see children really suppress towards their parents, because obviously it's like, I don't want to disrespect. I don't know how to stand up to my authority. They still operate from that childlike perspective versus I need to develop myself into a matriarch of my world, essentially. And now I've gotten to a point where, I would like to say that I feel like with my mother, because she is still the wounded child and she didn't, emotionally heal the way that I did. I feel like I mother her sometimes.
Yeah.
And that's okay. That dynamic might change sometimes. But a lot of people are still so stuck that I want to be the victim. I want to be that wounded child and refuse to come out and say, hold on, maybe my parents never had the capacity and probably will never have the capacity to get to the level of understanding that I have. And it's not for you to wait for someone else to change in order for you to get better.
There's a level of respect that you need to have when you go into any discussion with your parents, but you also need to understand how to convey the message properly to where you're getting across to them without being disrespectful. Right. I feel like you should never be disrespectful to them, and you need to learn how to communicate it properly. The problem is some that I've seen and in my own personal is they're not as responsive, or they, when I was a kid, I thought everything they said was right.
Right, of course. Yeah.
So, and I realize now as I get older, that's not the case, but they still sometimes think
Act that way?
Yes. Yeah.
But that's okay. Like, I think the issue is people expect, for example, boundaries. I want to, my dad, I mean, anyone who knows me, I'm super healthy in the way I live. My dad, I'll tell him, don't give my son sugar when you pick him up from school. Okay. I'll get you a healthier one. He's like, Baba, I'm going to pick him up. I'm going to buy it. This is that. You know how many people I know, they're like, he's not respecting my boundaries. I don't give my kids sugar. Okay, you're right. I don't either. But it's a grandfather to his grandkid. And in his brain, they never grew up with how bad sugar is and don't give them that. It's not processed the way it was for us. My dad's 73 years old. So I just said, it's fine. I'd rather him have that connection. Am I going to sit here and fight with him over it? And the reality is my dad, in his mind, he still thinks it's okay. Like, I'm right. What's wrong with sugar? He's fine. You guys grew up to sugar. It's okay. You have to pick your battles, though. It's just not worth it. And I think that the problem is people expect everybody to adopt their entire perspective. If not, it's considered disrespectful when it's like, and by the way, I love how you mentioned the whole respecting your adults, because I was emailed something a couple of weeks ago that now in school, these counselors have been introduced to this new term called adultism. And that means that this is for the adults who disrespect or almost speak down to kids as if they don't know as much as the adult does. And I was like, whatever happened to wisdom? Right? Where you go to someone older, a grandparent, and you're learning from their stories, and they've got different wisdom that we don't have. Like, they're literally creating labels of everything.
But we're arguing about stuff that's hurting your feelings.
Thank you. We're
literally causing people to kill each other
over hurt
and
feelings.
over hurt feelings.
Versus saying, toughen up,
Dude,
suck it up, get over it.
I listen, I'm not saying don't ever be emotional, don't ever cry. That is completely nonsense to never have those emotions. They're important. But this stuff, I mean, this is just far
I think it's
past.
important that you said that, though, because emotional reactions are important in a sense of crying, feeling. Like, that is, the problem is people don't want to feel anymore, Dylan. They're so afraid to feel these strong emotions as if something is wrong with them. So they numb it out and they distance themselves from anything that's overwhelmingly emotional, when it's like, that's actually very healthy. You're a human. You're meant to feel these things.
Yeah. You could literally say like 99.999% of the things to me, and I wouldn't give a shit one way or another. Like insult, like,
because you know who you are.
Yeah, and I just don't care.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't. If you wake up in the morning and something somebody said about you bothers you, I question like where your mental capacity is and what's important to you.
What do you doubt about yourself that someone else's opinion is affecting you that much? That's a you problem. Go work on your confidence. Go work on your self-worth, whatever it is. That's a you problem. It's not about how anybody else makes you feel.
Yes, unfortunately, there's people that are they're just shitty. You know what I mean? And so let them go be that way and be unhealthy and miserable by themselves.
Yeah.
That's the way I look at it.
And I think what's happening, though, is society saying, well, then I don't want to be around those people. But the reality is people are just projecting their pain.
Yeah.
People are projecting their pain. And it's okay to be around people, especially family, that's still dealing with their wounds. And you just worry about yourself getting to a point of saying, their behavior is actually not personal. Everything's a personal attack now, right?
Yeah.
Their behavior is not personal. It's just a reflection of the pain that they haven't processed yet. And I'm okay, and I'm going to be here with them, and maybe I can actually even lead by example.
Yeah, I mean, these people need help, clearly. And when I say need help, I'm not insulting their mental, mental health. I'm just saying they need help. They need positivity. They need love. They need something that they're lacking. And you can always try. People that I don't even respond when people leave negative comments anymore. They really don't as much as they used to me, because I was more in like the bodybuilding world and it was heavily toxic. But I got to the point where I'd go, well, I'm really sorry you feel that way, but thanks for stopping because it's helping to build my channel. Have a wonderful day. And you know
More
how many
comments are
people
better.
would apologize to me and say, wow, you know what? I'm sorry. I didn't look at it, or I didn't mean it that way, or whatever. And if they don't, they don't. But don't feed the fire. Who cares?
That's it. Yeah. Because as soon as you're fighting it, it's like I'm taking it as a personal attack versus obviously they got triggered or activated by something because of their own insecurities.
So do you deal with a lot of children that are estranged from their parents? And when I say children, I mean like, I don't know, 12 and under, 10 and under. Is it more so like our
I do
age?
see teenagers a lot, for sure. I definitely see a lot of teenagers because they're on social media so young and they're learning this language at such a fast rate where you triggered me. It's like your mom yelled and she's triggering you. Get over it. This is the problem. So I definitely am seeing it younger and younger, especially in parental alienation or there's a divorce where one parent is turning a child against the other parent. And now that child is building this image towards the parent. It happens so much. And I talk about that often too, where it's like the parents, do you recognize how damaging that is? Because what happens is a child is learning to actually stop loving a part of themselves because they don't understand how this parent must not be good, but yet they're a part of me and they're not at the point where they've actually gone through identity formation. So they're more confused than ever. And it's so damaging for a parent. Obviously, if abuse is there or there's something that's safety is a concern, I understand that. But most often than not, that's not the case. And it's just, I want revenge or there's a personal thing going on. So I want to make sure that they see how bad of a person he is because I see it. And that's when I typically see the teenagers really getting involved and starting the cutoff, or as soon as I'm 18, I'm going to move out and never talk to you again.
Do you find a lot of regret when you're talking to both sides, I guess, really? But I'm curious as to like, I understand every scenario is different. I get that. But
there's a pattern.
Yeah, I was going to say, what's the pattern?
So with the parents, the biggest thing that I have seen is parents are like, oh, I made those mistakes with my kid and now I could see how it kind of pushed them into the way they are. For example, the number one thing is parents don't realize, and actually this is for any relationship, if someone is upset about something, your child is trying to talk to you, your wife is trying to talk to you, husband, and they're upset about something, we often automatically go into defense mode. I want to justify myself so that you can see that I didn't intentionally try to hurt you. But what the receiving person hears is my excuse is bigger than your pain.
Oh, okay.
And so they start to shut off and almost like, no, you're not getting it. This is about my pain. And the other person's like still trying to keep justifying. So now this person is shutting down because like, what's the point? They just kind of defend it and they're not even seeing that I'm actually hurt by this. So I've taught parents to say, there's no justifying. And in any relationship, all you have to say is, I'm sorry I made you feel that way. Can you tell me more about like your perspective and how you interpreted it? Because now they're not on defense. They're not expecting that. They feel heard and they're more likely to open up. You're more likely to see it from their perspective. And then once they feel safer in that conversation, you could say, I can totally see how you took it that way. Can I share about how I meant it just so we can have that conversation? Because now their guard is not down anymore.
Right.
Their guard is down. It's not up anymore. And so that opens up a healthier conversation. That alone has completely changed so many parents' perspective and in any relationship. And then from the child's perspective, I've received a lot of messages from adult children. I received both of them, obviously the hateful and polarized conversations, like you're victim shaming and all of that.
Shit.
But then there's the other ones that are like, I never saw my parents from that perspective and you helped me grow a different kind of compassion for them and no longer hold them to this unrealistic standard. If people could learn better communication skills, was actually a big part of what I teach, is marriages would be saved like you wouldn't believe, relationships. And I learned this all because in the health space, the amount of emotional healing that was lacking from people's lives, no one teaches this. No one teaches you how to communicate better. Yes, you could take a class in university, but who else is teaching how to express yourself better, how to listen better, how to say things better? Like it doesn't exist, which is why I kind of took it upon myself because I had to learn that, Dylan. I was that person growing up that was told like, you're so aggressive. Why do you talk so aggressively and stuff like that? And it was a form of protection. But eventually I had to look at myself in the mirror and being like, okay, if this many people are saying it to you, there's obviously some truth there as much as you don't want to admit it. And I went down the rabbit hole of trying to learn better communication, how to express myself. And I think that's what improved all of my relationships, is my ability to sit there and say, sorry, I made you feel that way. Even when a part of me is just like, no, I want to defend. Doesn't matter. It's not about you. If the basic thing is walk into a conversation and say, what is my intent behind this conversation? Is my intent to be right? Is my intent to just be heard? Or is my intent to say, I actually genuinely want to feel closer to the other person and walk away where we both feel good? Because that changes your approach completely.
Yeah. You know what I think would be helpful and would have been helpful to all of us is when we have a fear, the only way to overcome it is to just make yourself try or do it. Swimming, like when you're a kid, like I was terrified to go underwater, and then you did it and you're like, oh, this is no big deal.
Right.
I remember getting my teeth pulled out. I was like, oh my gosh, this is going to hurt so bad. And then my dad would do it so fast and I'd be like, well, but I'm correlating this to speaking, talking in front of people. I know not everybody's going to be a public speaker. I know not everybody's going to give up and be an orator, right?
Right.
But practicing it, doing it, getting up and talking in front of the classmates or doing stuff, as you practice it, you get used to it. It becomes less of a problem.
You build the muscle.
Yes. And then it becomes, not a big deal, right? Somebody laughs at you, you realize it's over pretty damn quick.
Right.
You know what I mean? These things, but you have to teach somebody to do it. And if you just never do it, then you create this fear and then you hide. And then the things that have been put out there, you realize, well, I can just type this and I don't have to talk to anybody.
Right. Because where does growth happen?
Practice and
out of your comfort zone.
Yeah, you have to do things that you just don't want to do.
You don't. Where you feel that gut feeling in your stomach that I'm going to puke, I want to run, I want to fight or flight.
Yes.
And I want to run away from it. Cool. Do it.
Yeah.
Build the muscle, because the moment you do that, your nervous system is like, oh, I didn't die. It wasn't it wasn't going to kill me, which is primal, human instincts, survival skills. But the growth really does happen outside of the comfort zone. And I wish more people understood that, because it's like, if it scares you, cool, do it.
Yeah.
If you're going to walk into a conversation, you feel like you're going to puke or pass out, good, have the conversation.
Right. A lot of times I will say, if there's something that is difficult for me to do, like I'm not good at putting shit together, for example, but I'll go, man, so-and-so did it, or so-and-so did this. Can't be that hard. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to be a jerk. And then I'll think, well, if no one's ever done it, why can't I be the first one to do it?
I think that a big reason for a lot of that is there's conditioning in our upbringing, including in school, where you are taught, oh, I'm not good at math. I'm not very good at art. I'm not very good at gym. So from a young age, you're telling yourself that this is my strong skills.
Yeah.
This is my weaker skills. I actually read a book. I can't remember the book for the life of me. And it was a math professor who said he now teaches across the countries how to learn math for people who are like, I'm terrible at math. And he's like, no, you just never learned how to learn math the way your brain knows it.
That's right.
And so that's all it is. You're right. You can do anything, but something along the way told yourself, like for me, I'm not good at phys ed. So I never was really into so much hardcore like fitness training or running and all of that. I'm sure if I really, really wanted to and tried, I can. But it's the same thing with any other subject, building stuff, all of that. There's something that was likely there at some point in your life where you thought that I'm not as good at it, because different talents come more naturally to some people, and that's okay. But you can still build the skill set for everything else that doesn't come naturally.
When I was in school, I said, I hate biology. I can't do it. I can't do it. I just can't do it. I don't want to do it. And you know what? Right now, everything I study, everything I do, everything revolves around biology and chemistry.
Science, yeah.
And I find it to be the most fascinating thing in the world. And I read it and I study it, and I am better at that than I was at anything else.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. You build a muscle for anything and everything.
Yeah.
The same way you have to do it for your emotional healing, the way you have to do it for communication, everything. And it's like that people are lacking the want and the hunger for growth. Like, I need to become a bigger, better, healthier, happier person, and I'm going to do whatever I got to do to take it. That hunger, I feel like, is lacking because you've got the dopamine rush of social media. You've got all of these, distractions of this fast-paced world that they're not hungry for that growth. And in that growth, you are more resilient, you're more patient, you practice more perseverance and compassion and understanding and everything.
The people that I tend to see that have the most disease, the most bad blood panels, the most like arthritis or debilitating problems
Right.
like pains and things like that, inflammation. They all have these problems.
Right.
They all have them. I swear to you, the angrier you are, the more negative you are, all of this, it all correlates into
Well, all
terrible.
it's doing is releasing so much cortisol into your body,
Yep.
and that's like literally slow poison, right?
And that's what I was going to ask you then. Do you find the people that have the most problems, that have the most stress that come to you and everything, they have to be worse off health-wise too?
Always.
Always.
There's a correlation for sure. Especially where I speak to a lot of parents who are like, I don't have the energy. I'm sick. Why don't they understand that? They should talk to me. I'm sick. I'm dying. They're dead. It is very, same thing, still victim mindset, right? And it's hard for them to pull themselves out of it. So then I see the child who's like, I'm going crazy. I don't want it. And I grew up in the same household. My mom was sick growing up. It was her sickness came over everything. And so eventually you learn to navigate and say, it's not going to change unless she wants to change. But it's okay. If it's negative around me, like I could still be happy and maybe I'm the light to her. But there's a great correlation with the lack of emotional processing and expression that is happening with the people who are sick. And when I say emotional expression, I'm not just talking about the anger.
Yeah.
I'm talking about they're probably angry and frustrated and all that because of the lack of emotional expression. They've built it up, something that they had swallow their pride, swallow their words, swallow whatever it was in order to keep the peace in their life or whatever it is. And that's now resulting in this surge of negative emotions that they're dealing with, which is creating more and more sickness, which is, I think, why we have more and more sicknesses than ever. And obviously there's a lot of other factors that we can bring into the topic.
But I think that the more mental and emotional healing that's needed is causing a lot more health crisis.
Well, yeah. I mean, look at, if you see the rise of therapy, which for me, I correlate a lot with the victim mentality, mental health is worse than ever.
Yeah.
We have all of these new things that are supposed to help mental health, but yet every single person is suffering with mental health. 2 out of 5 members of every family is in therapy right now for like years and years and years. It's become another escape where someone else has to help me with my own healing because I'm incapable of doing it myself.
I need therapy for all the people that think they need therapy
Right.
because it drives me so fucking crazy.
Okay. Because it's externalizing. It's like,
Yeah.
I have no control over my life. That's what we've gotten to, where it's like, no, man, you have an incredible amount of control that can have you living the best life, even with the hardships, because you go through tough shit and you build the mental capacity to say, that's okay. There's a lesson in this that I'm meant to go through that's going to help me get to exactly where I need to go through and get to. So it's like you start actually being more open to the hardships that you're going to have,
Right.
because you know that it's going to teach you the skills and the strength that you need to get to that next level. Most people don't get that. They're so afraid of it as if it's going to break them because they have become so emotionally fragile.
People are so fearful of the fear is the problem.
Right.
There's this built up fear, and we all have that, something that we're scared of or whatever. And until you can really stand up to it and make your weakness your strength, or your fear your toughness, which is what you have to do. I have found that every single thing I've ever been scared of or I felt was my weakness, I have tried my damnedest to make it my strength. I have. Building
And
shit,
what got you through the fear in those moments?
just standing up to it, just saying no.
And faith?
Yes. Faith is the
That's
key.
what I'm saying. People are lacking faith.
Yeah, the faith.
And when you
is,
lack it, fear takes over.
Yeah.
And in those fearful moments, what gets you through is an invisible power that you're like, there's something bigger than me that is pulling the strings right now. And it's okay to surrender. But people are so obsessed with that control and then lacking faith more
That's
than
it.
ever. And so they run by that. They're steered by it. They literally drive in that fear and they make decisions from there.
I don't care what anybody says. Faith is the simple foundation.
You're right.
And it's simple.
Exactly.
It's so easy. You just have it.
Yeah.
You do.
Oh, I'm scared. Cool. I'm going to do it. I'm going to trust in God that I'm going to
That's
get
it.
through it and I'm going to get
That's
the
it.
skills that I need to.
It is literally the easiest thing to obtain,
Right.
to have, because it's always invited and it's always accepted, and he's just waiting.
And what does faith teach you? Humility, compassion, understanding, perseverance, patience, all of these things that I find people just don't have as much anymore because faith is being pushed everywhere. Schools have pushed out faith. Books, like even look on social media, Dylan. Most people are now like the universe or God or whatever you believe in.
Yeah, it's
They don't,
ridiculous.
they're scared to just say God. Like,
Yeah.
I'm only going to say God. There's no universe. There's a creation and a creator.
That's it.
And God created one of them. And so I feel like that for the younger and younger generations are like, and it's okay to question. I mean, it's natural for us when we're younger to question, wow, there's a God, there's a this. But when you have language, it's so normalized on social media that starts to create that doubt and feed it without a stronger language that's used to say, no, he's real and he's there because he's being pushed out of everywhere and the devil's running the earth and everyone sees him and doesn't even recognize him anymore. He's just walking freely. That is 100% the foundation of why relationships are breaking down, why people don't feel like they want personal accountability. Why? Because God holds you accountable. You have to show up. You're responsible for your own life. And people let fear run them, anger run them, which is the devil's favorite emotion, right?
Mm-hmm. You know who I have the most conversations with every day? Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I do it instead of turning music on in the car, no matter what I'm doing, anytime I have a free moment, you made me stop like cold because you started rattling off a list of everything I pray for every day for myself, which was patience, humility, perseverance, and vigilance. Like these are incorporated. See my chills? Because I say it every day, 7 days a week. I pray when I ask for stuff for myself, when I'm not for other people, it's for skill sets that I need to be successful in the way that we're all created to be successful.
Right.
And you brought up wisdom earlier, and people don't understand what that means.
Right.
Wisdom is not being smart. It's the ability to use your knowledge in the right way.
Right.
That's a totally different concept and understanding. And that's another thing is people don't know how to interpret. They mix words. They don't understand what things mean. They don't understand that the handbook to how we're supposed to live. I'm not saying it teaches you how to do your credit or
exactly.
It's how you're supposed to carry yourself.
Roots.
Yes.
It's meant to be the roots. And I love that you're talking about that because when you focus on strengthening and praying for these things about yourself, that means that no matter what happens in my life, I'm going to get through it because I have this capacity that I've prayed for and I've built within myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is the biggest gap that I'm seeing in society right now, because if you look across everywhere, they don't teach that anymore.
No, and people tend to only pray when they're desperate.
Right. When you're breaking down versus being thankful and grateful for everything.
On my best days is probably when I pray the most.
Me too.
You know?
Crying of gratitude.
Yeah. Sometimes on my worst days, I struggle because my mind is so gone. I'm actually doing more prayer on my best of best when most people just are like, la-di-da-di-da, don't care.
Right.
It's only when they want something.
Right. It's interesting.
Yeah. I struggle the most on my worst days when, you would think it would be the polar opposite.
Because you're probably, I do the same thing actually. So it's interesting that you brought that up because I feel like you're aware that it's a you problem.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't bring in God or try to blame her. Like, help me understand why I'm going through this because I know that there's a reason I'm in this situation is probably from my own doing in some capacity. Mm-hmm. Whereas when blessings are happening, it's fully him creating it and you're just a vessel of his creation.
That's it. I always pray that somehow, some way that his name will get put out in front of everybody more in the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Because I feel like there's a bigger movement of people that are going that way, but there's this force that fights back against it, that pushes against it.
Because it's crazy to say that speaking of God has almost become a polarized conversation.
Yeah, it's insane. I'll tell you what, every single thing I do, every podcast I go on, whether they like it or they don't, I don't give a flying fuck. That is going to be the first thing I say and where I go, and I'm giving it there. And don't listen if you don't like it.
Right.
I don't care.
Right.
I really don't.
And I feel like a lot of people actually want to hear it because like, oh, he talked about it too because it's something that's there, but I'm worried because I care more about what people think versus what's true to me, which is another issue that society deals with. It's like people pleasing versus what's true to me. People don't know what's true to them anymore.
I will always give him everything because I don't have this or any of this. He gave it to me. If it's not meant to be, he'll take it, whenever it's supposed to go.
Exactly.
It's not my call. I'm literally only working for him now. I just do what I feel compelled to do now at this point because I don't know shit on my own.
But that's how I've even transitioned to the work that I'm doing now. Mm-hmm. Like I had a very successful business, right? I was running as Tania the herbalist for so long, but I just got to a point where it was like,
is it who you are?
I'm not enjoying this anymore. Like there's no way this is it for me, God. And whatever's meant for you is going to happen. Whatever's not meant for you is not going to happen.
That's right.
Right. And
that's
I think people have a hard time accepting that. They try so hard. And I did the same thing where it's like, I would try and things were just not working. I was constantly facing roadblocks until you're like, it's not meant to work.
You know what you said earlier, which was the key to me figuring out what I was supposed to do, is listening.
Right.
Even during prayer, sometimes I feel like Holy Spirit has to talk through me because I talk so much during prayer, even that I can't tell you how many times then I start talking and then something comes to me and I say it out loud and I'm like, I see what you're doing. I get it. I understand. I won't shut up. So you're saying it out loud through me. I hear you. I'm going to go do it.
Yeah.
Listening is like literally one of the, it's a skill.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like you have to work at it.
And this is where I think like meditation and those kinds of things are so important. Like prayer is a form of meditation.
Yeah,
that's all it is.
That's what
and to be able to sit in that silence where you allow that inner voice to become so much louder in a world that is so busy and constant distractions. People can't even go to the washroom without their phones, right? Like you never have time to have that quiet mind or to be bored. Mm-hmm. People don't know how to be bored anymore. Mm-mm. When you're bored is when your best ideas come through, when God speaks to you more clearly, all of those. I wish people just practice being bored more often.
Yeah. But I think people create boredom too, because you're not really bored if you're in prayer and listening. There's nothing boring about it.
Right.
You just create that and think that you're bored because you feel like you have to be occupied all the time.
That's exactly it. When I say bored, that's what I'm referring to. Is like I have to be doing something. I have to be productive right now, but sometimes doing nothing is productive.
You know, as you get older, you realize that boredom is pretty damn valuable because you never have a quiet moment to yourself or a moment of peace.
Right.
You know,
that's why prayer is so important. Like you need that silence. And I love that you mentioned listening, because I think that if there's one big takeaway, listening is the most powerful skill set that any human can build. Mm-hmm. Listening to what people are saying, listening to what people aren't saying, listening to God, listening to his signs. How many people get signs in front of them every single day and refuse it because it's not literally written on a paper in front of them, where, you know, that if people can practice that, oh my.
I can't tell you how many times where I know something is being said to me and that I have gone, oh no, and I try to block it or skew it. Right. And it's 100% miss for me.
Yeah.
Every time I do it, it's literally 100%.
Yeah.
And the times I listen, and then I even if it seems awkward or wrong, and then it's like, then something crazy happens, and it's like, holy shit.
Right.
I heard you, and I'm thankful that I listened, type of thing.
Right.
You
because
know?
It's oftentimes it comes as a whisper and then it comes as a shout. You're not listening. I'm going to come in with a bang until you're like, oh, I knew it. I should have listened before. Yeah. That's usually how it happens. But if people just quiet it down a little bit and listened a little bit more, you can hear the whispers before it turns into screams.
Just happened to me. Here's a prime example. I traveled to Austin last week or week before. It's, I don't know, a week or two. I'm bad with dates. Anyway, I had stayed at a house, because I always stayed at VRBO, and I had stayed at this lady's house in, I think it was May last year, and I wrote her because she said, no, next time you come, let me know, and you can stay here. I texted, because I found her number, didn't get a response, and I was like, so I got on VRBO, found the house that it was, wrote her, no response, and I was like, that is so weird, you know, because she gave me a great review.
Right.
I went ahead and booked it. And never got really much of a response till right before, and she then was like the generic automated. I land, go to the baggage claim, get a text from her on VRBO. The house got broken into last night. You can't stay here, but I have another house for you to stay in. So I stayed in the other house. Point being, I should have known. I felt like, man,
there was resistance happening.
Yes, and I felt like, man, this is really weird. Maybe I shouldn't do this, but I put it off, and I was like, screw it, I'm just going to do it. I'm in a hurry. And I knew. And then he was like, okay, fool, I'm just going to protect you here. This was what was going to happen.
Right. Yeah. And especially, I mean, I don't know how the gun laws are in Houston, but.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, best case, they just steal something. Worst case, I get hurt.
Right.
You know?
Right. He knows best. Sometimes these obstacles are coming up for a reason. Actually, even my sister and I just coming into here, I swear to you, Dylan, till now, I'm mind boggled because I booked our hotel resort, like booked it. I sent it to her, confirmation, everything. Yesterday we get into the rental car and I was like, I can't find the email anywhere. No, like you don't understand. Like anywhere. I was going crazy. I'm like, no, you don't understand. I started going through my credit card statement and everything. And I was like, it is not there. And after like a little while, I was like, we're not meant to stay there. I can go and rebook it right now. For whatever reason, we're not. And we went through it, and our place right now, we went there, we got upgraded to the suite. We did this, we did that. And I was like,
That's it.
I could have forced it and showed up there, and who knows how the experience would have been compared to just saying, we're not meant to stay there. It's okay to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
And it was an even better experience.
See?
But it's you force it. You sometimes try to force yourself into a situation that's not meant for you.
No. He's always talking, but we're not always listening.
Right.
That's it. So do you find then with most of the problems you have, your biggest obstacle is to fix the communication between the parent and the child? Is that kind of what starts the healing process, or the
100%.
fixing is just...
That's right. It's the communication and the understanding of each.
And then trust building maybe, or...
Right, of course, 100%. So the way to communicate that helps build the trust that it's safe communication on both ends. That also comes from a form of understanding, because you have to understand your child's language and how they express themselves. And it's also important for the child to understand the parent, their capacity, versus expecting them to be on your same healing journey, same emotional language, all of that. So communication and that level of understanding is the primal thing for sure.
And like I said, there's a fine line in everything. I think people go to extremes too much. And I encounter this with like supplements and all the bodybuilders I coached and people that go on their diets, and they just, everything's an extreme.
Right.
You know what I mean? And there's just no in between. And that causes the problems with people too, because
Which is so unhealthy.
It is.
Yeah.
So there's this extreme resistance against any kind of discipline.
Right.
At all. I'm not saying get verbally abused and ridiculed. That's too much. But discipline is so good and prepares you, like you said earlier. These people don't understand what the real world is like.
Because they're confusing passion.
Yeah.
You can be so passionate about something. And when someone's so passionate, they almost feel the need to have to persuade everybody else into their way of thinking.
Right.
And if someone isn't, it's like as if it challenges them, but it's not that.
Yeah.
We're all so unique, and it's okay to have different passions and different perspectives. But I feel like that happens with everything. Even the language that we were just talking about earlier. When you think about all this new language, boundaries is forced on everybody. Boundaries was originally created as a form of standards, being able to stand up for yourself, self-respect. Now boundaries has turned into anything that challenges me is not healthy for me.
Right.
And so everything is being forced to that extreme. It's like my belief system is the truth. My feelings are facts. Anything that challenges that is probably toxic, and I shouldn't be around it.
You know what's crazy that just dawned on me right now? And I hate politics, but this is an example.
It happens a lot.
It feels like that term compromise has completely disappeared. It's my way or no way. That is it. That's it. And if it's not that way, I hate you.
COVID boomed
Right.
the crap out of it.
But
too.
let me ask you this. No matter what happens, all the fighting, all the arguing, everything else, these two sides, they have to compromise or nothing ever gets done.
Right.
Everything shuts down. So they're teaching people or pushing on people to never compromise, yet they have to every single day or nothing happens.
Right. So even when it comes, I mean, I don't follow politics either. I'm like left or right wing is all part of the same bird, really, in my opinion.
It's just a
It's
term.
just a form of divide,
Yeah.
right? But you're right. People don't want to compromise. Now it's kind of like you think my way or not. I can't even tell you the amount of, and like I said, I don't follow politics, the amount of people that have literally told me because of who I voted for, my kids think I'm a danger and don't want anything to do with me anymore. Like that's where society has come to, who I voted for, because they have a different perspective, and they obviously, I don't think if I ever voted, I don't think my parents and I would ever vote on the same people, and that's okay. Do I think that they're a danger to me? Do I think that they intentionally want to harm me? Absolutely not.
This shit with who people vote for, if you have, like, generally speaking, we talk about faith. So we have to fall into one category, right? Because one side, certainly 0% of them are faithful.
Right.
Correct?
Right.
Or whatever it is, it doesn't matter. You know what I mean?
But that's what they pull on.
But
They pull
that's
on
what
the
they do.
belief systems.
I don't belong to anybody's fucking side but God's side.
Right, exactly.
I don't belong to anything.
Right. Right.
Nothing.
Right.
I have a beautiful marriage. I have a beautiful family. We belong to God.
Right.
We don't belong to anything else. You know,
we're so stuck to this temporary world.
yeah, that's just it.
Right. And we're so self-centered in this temporary world that we take everything so freaking seriously.
It's just insane. It is so insane. There are moments for sure that you need to be serious. You got a big speech, you know, you're doing something special, you're doing God's work. What? Yeah, take it serious.
Right.
But some of this stuff, it's like, this is what I was going to ask you earlier because we went all over the place. simple phrase, constructive criticism. How do you find that to be problematic in your realm for people? Because
Well, what's really interesting is I've worked with a lot of parents that are like straight up like, thank you for telling me what I was doing wrong. And I love that.
Yeah.
I'm finding there's some adult children that are also doing the same thing, but still so defensive to it. There's some adults, there's still some parents that are like, they don't want to think that they're bad people that are doing something wrong. So they will literally protect it at the cost of their own happiness because there's so much pride involved.
Yeah.
I think constructive criticism is the most important thing because it's constructive. I need to hear what is wrong with me or what could be an area of opportunity for me based on someone else's perspective, because we all have different perspectives. And that you should take it with a grain of salt, but at the same time as thank you for pointing out something in me that probably needs work.
So you know how words have multi-meanings.
Right.
Cool, it's cold, but it's badass, whatever, right? Pride has two sets of meanings, one good, one very bad, right? I think taking pride in your work or pride in things that you do is very important. I think being prideful is one of the worst things that you could ever be. Having too much pride and not able to say you're sorry, not able to admit when you're wrong. I think it is one of the worst characteristics or trait.
Being driven by ego.
Yeah, it is one of the worst of the worst of the worst. Pride does not pay your bills. Pride does not answer questions. Pride does not solve anything.
Doesn't solve your marriage. Doesn't solve your relationships.
It ruins them.
Exactly.
It does. And the thing that I learned, and it's funny, when I really learned this, my college basketball coach, he told us, he said, if I don't yell at you or jump on you, I really don't care about you.
Right. Right. Tough love.
Yeah.
That's the thing, is people don't know what that toughness is anymore.
No, because they don't find it important enough to give their efforts in telling you what you're doing wrong or jumping on you to correct what you're doing.
Right.
You're insignificant.
Right.
I don't ever want to be insignificant. I want to have things that need fixed so that I can improve, because it means that you see something in me.
And you want to be challenged.
Absolutely.
Right. People don't like to be challenged.
No, I tell my wife when I met her, I said, if I look like shit, if I talk too much, if I smell like shit, you tell me.
Yeah.
You say whatever you need to say, because I'm going to be angry if you don't.
Right. And it might hurt my feelings. I might be like, but cool. Thank you for telling me. Like, even if someone does react that way, it's okay. Thank you for telling me.
I had a friend, because I used to party way too much, right? And I had one friend, and he'd only ask me, does my hair look good? Do I look good or whatever? And he'd tell me, he'd go, you're the only one that's ever honest that tells me. I said, bro, I don't want you to go out there and make a fool. I'll always tell you. People that come to me, they know I'm not going to ever tell you what you want to hear. It's not helping you.
Right.
I will only tell you what you need to hear.
But it is helping. It's helping them not know. You're telling them what they need to hear, not what they want to hear.
That's right.
And that's always helpful.
That's the only thing I will tell you. I will never tell you what you want to hear.
And it's interesting that you said that, actually. I don't think I ever really realized it until now, where I've always been known as a very honest person at the expense of some relationships.
Well,
where it was like, you hurt my feelings because of how honest you were, where I'm thinking like, isn't it healthy to just say what I think is probably best for you? But I think that that's also has a direct correlation with the fragility that we're talking about.
yeah.
Because if you're not able to say how you truly feel because you're scared about someone else, that's a lack of expression right there. And that lack of expression is not just communication. That's just your ability to say, I trust who I am right now, and I trust that I'm capable of even fixing the conversation if I need to, if it was misinterpreted based on what I said.
Well,
People don't know how to be honest anymore.
No, you could speak with malice, and that's one thing, right? But if you're simply stating something that's helpful, like you come to me and say that, I'm going to thank you up and down.
Right.
For pointing it out.
Because I'm so honest, I love when someone comes to me and tells me something honestly.
Yeah.
I grow more respect for you.
Well, look, I always want to get better, and I want to improve upon what I'm doing. If there's something I'm doing wrong here, it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? But many people, they don't ever want to hear any inadequacy. Can I spit it out? They don't ever want to hear it. They're scared of it. They're scared to have to fix something or work at something. And that's not a healthy fear. You should be looking every single day for ways to improve. Like I use Jesus as an example. I will say to him, I want to see things through your eyes. I want to be as you are. I know I can't ever be, but I always have something to work towards.
Right.
Perfection might not be attainable, but that means you always have something to chase.
Right. And I love that you talked about the pride and the two different versions of pride, because you're right. Being proudful of your work and where you've come is so important. But oftentimes when you're so driven by the ego, that's just self-protection. And when you're
100%.
self-protecting, that means that I'm aware that there's something that I'm lacking, and I don't want to. I don't want to work through it. I'm scared. I don't know how to work through it. Am I going to have the capacity? Does that mean that I'm weaker? Whatever it is. And that's often a perfect opportunity to say, okay, this is what I have to do. Its ego is literally going to block you from being your healthiest, happiest version of yourself. And that's why when I see adult children who are fighting me so hard, like I see the correlation between the adult children who are justified in cutting off their parents, who are so angry. I'm like, doesn't that say something to you? If you're carrying that much anger, doesn't that show you that maybe this is not the path and there's a lot more emotional healing that has to happen?
That's right.
It's so deeply rooted, but it's ego. I have to protect myself at all costs, even at the cost of my own happiness.
Yeah, it's great. It's crazy how it works.
Yeah.
I guess we've gone on the full time. I'm sure.
Wow.
Yeah. This was one of those like roundtable discussions type of things that would have been
Anything and
perfect.
everything.
Yeah, I
It's
love
true.
it. I enjoyed this so much. This is just like, this is stuff that all needs to be said. You were perfect for this kind of conversation.
Thank you.
I hope I carried it well because I
Thank
had
you.
a blast.
No, I think it's great. It's what people need to hear, but don't necessarily think about talking about.
My kind of conversation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, tell everybody where they can find you and what are the best platforms, and I'll link everything.
Yeah. I mean, Tania Khazaal. That's it. TaniaKhazaal. ZAAL. I'm in Canada. But that's my website. That's my socials, Instagram, Facebook. I'm super active there. Just started my YouTube. That's it. They can find anything in all my offers and my posts where I talk about a lot of this too.
Well, you have so much valuable to offer, and I appreciate you taking the time coming here and discussing this stuff with me, because I think this is one of the most important discussions I've ever had. Like,
Thank you
on
for
air.
that.
I
Thank
really
you.
do. I think this is just some of the most impactful stuff.
No,
I
I
really
appreciate
do.
that, Dylan. Yeah, it was a great conversation.
I enjoyed
Always
the
open
shit
to
out
it.
of it. Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you. Thanks for just going off script. Well, I guess I don't use script, but I mean off script on maybe what you're used to discussing, and it's
But
fun.
this is the deeper of the surface level that I talk about anyways.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you bringing that into
Well,
me.
yeah, we got to hit the roots, man.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. That wraps up another one. I hope this helps you, doesn't hurt your feelings, and makes you make some progress in your life. So that being said, stay tuned for plenty more to come. Dylan Gemelli signing off.